What's up, everybody? Fantasy Savvy Steve D'Angelo back for another Rotowire Online Championship High Stakes Fantasy Draft here on a Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. So we are already in the first round. As you can see, the board is up. Ended the first round. Rotowire Online Championship 350 entry. Play NFFC.com. This is third round reversal, meaning the first pick will be the 12th pick. So the number one pick doesn't get the first pick of the third round. The 12th, the team 12 will get the first pick of the third round and third round reversal. And if you win your league, 1,500, grand prize 2,500, 250,000. So follow along. I started off. I have the second pick, as you can see here. I got Justin Jefferson. And we're going to get this baby going. So jump in the comments. You guys want to talk anything fantasy, we'll get into it. But Fantasy Savvy on X, let's go. Welcome to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo, discussing high-stakes fantasy football, NFL picks, and much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, we're coming back up here. Just looking at the board. So far, the usual Jamar Chase goes first. I take Jefferson. I wanted to switch it up. I got a piece of all the three of the backs, Barkley, Gibbs, and Bijan. I don't think I have Genti in this format yet, but I wasn't going to take him there. I got CD the other night. So, Jefferson, my first share of him. Really like J.J. McCarthy this year. Think he's going to do big things with the Vikings offense. So I think Jefferson's going to have a better year than he did last year with Darnold. All right, so we're coming up here. And what do we want to do? Because, again, we're going to get flipped here. The third pick is going to go to team 12 in the third round reversal. The first pick of the third round, rather. And I'm going to get switched up here, or rather, I would have a double pick coming up, but that is not going to happen. So what do I want to do at running back? We got Bucky Irving, we got Chase Brown, we got JT, we got Josh Jacobs. At receiver, we have JSN, T. Higgins, Tyreek, Trey McBride still sitting there. There goes Bucky Irving. I think I might take Jonathan Taylor here. We just saw Anthony Richardson now is back in camp. He's looking pretty fresh. There was some propaganda showing one of his throws overthrowing Mo Alley Cox, the basketball player from VCU. And obviously, they didn't show the rest. The people are trying to engagement farm. And, most of the people that, that don't pay attention, they get suckered into it. And they think that Anthony Richardson was terrible on the day. But, if you watch the rest of his throws, of course, he's making easy throws. So you really can't take much out of it either way. But what are we going to do here? Chase Brown, I'm going to go JT. This guy was the running back one a few years ago, had an unbelievable stretch towards the end of last year. And I could see him getting into the end zone a bunch and getting a big season yardage-wise. So first share of JT, first share of Jefferson. Guys that could certainly lead their position in fantasy football points. There goes Chase Brown. I was thinking about Chase Brown. Love Chase Brown as well. Obviously, he's in a monster offense with Joey Burrow. But they're going to talk about this draft tonight on Sirius XM, I think at 11 o'clock. I was trying to get on with Tom, and I think it's Jeff Erickson who'll be breaking down the draft. So if you guys got Sirius, check it out. 11 p.m. Eastern tonight. They'll be talking about it if you miss it. They're going to, you can always watch it. You listen on the replay. If you guys, again, you want to talk anything fantasy football tonight, jump in the comments. We'll talk. You guys like, subscribe, share. Appreciate that. Hit the notification button. Appreciate that as well. Again, follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. So there goes Amarian Hampton in the third round now. He's being pushed up with the news of Najee Harris. Jim Harbaugh is saying that he doesn't know if he'll be back for training camp. So, we don't really know what the heck's going on with his eye. Is he going to show up with a patch at some point? One-eyed Willie? We don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see. So team 1 starts with Chase and Higgins. I start with Taylor, Jefferson and Taylor. Team 3, Bijan and Irving. Team 4, Gibbs and Kyron. I like team 3 start. I like team 1. Team 1's obviously going to go for that Burrow crazy ass stack. Getting both guys there, and obviously that was very, very lucrative last year. And if T. Higgins could play 17 games, watch out. It just, it's always like 13 games for T. Higgins. Team 5, Barkley and McConkey, very nice. Team 6, CD, Garrett Wilson, JSN. And, the second round picks seem a little bit safer this year and a little bit more secure than they did last year. Where you had like guys like Olave and Waddle and Devonta Smith. I think the guy's a little bit more firm this year. I don't know if I could poke a hole into any of these guys really here in the second round. But CeeDee Lamb, Wilson, JSN, team 7. Now I'm back on the clock. So we'll get back into that after I make this pick. Amar has been taken. George Kittle is still there. Receivers, McLaurin, Rashi, DJ Moore. McLaurin has not shown up for camp. Breece Hall or James Cook or Kenny Walker. I'm going to go with James Cook. He's in camp, and he had a monster year last year touchdown-wise, and I think he'll get paid eventually. And it's going to be all gravy. Now, normally here I'd go Josh Allen. I do have James Cook. There goes Burrow as well. Picked ahead of Josh Allen. I don't understand that. Again, you get 6 points for a touchdown pass here. So I would get the stack. I would have Allen. He's so secure. You know what? Let's do it. We go Josh Allen. I'm going to have a lot of Josh Allen. I got to start getting some Jaden Daniels and Lamar, though. Lamar seems to be going a little bit earlier sometimes than Allen. Daniels is kind of right behind these guys. But get a little bit of a stack there with Allen and Cook. The receivers to stack with Allen is, last year was just, Mac Hollins with leading the team in touchdowns. So, and now they bring in Elijah Moore and Josh Palmer and Keon Coleman still got to develop, and you got Khalil Shakir, and Dolan Kincaid was really, really banged up last year. So maybe I'll try to grab Kincaid later on, or Shakir, we'll see, or Keon. But I like to start. I mean, I got, 3 possible guys that could lead their position at their respective positions in fantasy. All guys that have done it before. And then Jimmy Cook, who, I think is an explosive running back that just gives the Bills a different element. Now, Ray Davis is good. He's a quality back. But James Cook's just different. He gives them he puts them on a different level with his breakaway speed. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a very, very secure, and the Bills want to run the football still. They want to be a balanced team. So whether it's Josh Allen or James Cook getting in the end zone, I will benefit. And hopefully Cook gets some more receiving touchdowns. He's dropped a lot in the past. Got a little better with that. I was thinking about Kenny Walker. I love Kenny Walker. I certainly think he could have a big year. Seattle's offensive line is not really rated that great, but the scheme should be better with Kubiak there. He's another guy that's always hurt. So I'm trying to, I guess in this draft, I'm trying to get some secure, healthy guys in this one. Because, I do find myself taking a lot of T. Higgins, a lot of Kenneth Walker, guys that are kind of banged up every single year. But good start so far. Back to the Bills, Team 7, Genty, A.J. Brown, Amarian Hampton, DJ Moore. Teammate, Malik Neighbors. Back-to-back picks there, Hubbard and Ridley. Teammate, Neighbors, Henry, Tyreek, DK. That's an interesting start. I like that. Neighbors is, man, he's so freaking talented. Go back and watch the two games against the Cowboys last year, how he dusted those corners. I mean, it was like an and one mixtape the way he crossed those guys over. Then you got Henry and Tyreek, who could, definitely have a bounce back season. I still do think Tua holds them back, and that scheme. I don't know what the hell was going on with that scheme last year. It was like 3rd and 12, and Tua was throwing like 3-yard passes to Jonnu Smith and Devin Achane. Team 9, Amon-Ra, Nico, Josh Jacobs, Xavier Worthy. He's being a little bit pushed up now with the Rice's, the looming Rice suspension. Rice goes in the 5th round. We've seen him go in the 4th round. We've seen him go in the 6th round. So, if you can get him in the 5th, 6th, that's pretty solid, especially, when he's kind of falling in the 4th. I think for the most part, depending on where you're drafting. But, everybody's kind of like, a lot of people are off Worthy. I think Worthy is very, very talented. He was the guy that came on at the end of the year last year. He was the guy that was on the field. So he's got the momentum coming into this year. Hollywood Brown, he came back towards the end of last year. Didn't really look that great. Didn't do anything special. And I think Worthy at this point in their careers is a better player. And so I think he's got the momentum. And Racey's going to get suspended at some point. And they play different roles anyway. So Worthy, I think, he's gonna be going deep a lot. He's gonna get screens. He's gonna get those handoffs. So I think regardless, if Rice was on the field, like everybody's expecting Rice to get all these targets, and certainly Rasheed Rice would be very good. But I think Xavier Worthy would take a little bit away from Rice just because he's talented in his own right. But it's going to be interesting to see how they mix in all those guys. With Hollywood healthy, now Worthy, Rice will be back. And then also drafting Jalen Royals. We'll see if they kind of uptick Noah Gray a little bit more as well. Ted McMillan, I know people love him. I don't think he should have been the number 1 pick. I kind of wish the Panthers would have took a different receiver. I know he's big. He's agile. But I don't know. I don't see like an elite number 1 guy similar to the way Harrison was taken first last year. I didn't think he should have been taken first. I didn't think Ted should have been taken first. But he should be a nice target for Bryce Young. Big target across the middle, a lot of dig routes. That should certainly help the shorter Bryce Young. He'll definitely be looking to, the bigger Ted McMillan. But not really my guy right now. Again, I'm still assessing everything. I'm watching rookies, all their snaps once. I'll go back and watch it again, maybe a 3rd time, maybe a 4th time. I'm just every night I'm watching different things, and my opinions are being molded and shifted. So that's kind of the way my drafts are going to be designed too, as I'm watching more players and getting refreshed on them and, getting good feelings about them. Team 10, Puka, Bowers, Lamar. Nice. Chuba, who I think is solid, something very solid. And then our boy, Team 11, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Chase Brown, Calvin Ridley, George Pickens. First 3 picks, very solid. Calvin Ridley, obviously with Cam Ward, he should be the leading receiver there. Obviously, he hasn't been the same ever since he came back. 1,000-yard year, though, with Will Levis, Willie Fubus, and freaking Mason Rudolph. It should get a lot better. But we'll see if A. Manor has any presence there. Maybe a Conquo. Maybe Tyler Lockett. Still has a little bit of a presence there. I know he's kind of dust now. All right. So we only got 1 receiver. And in this format, you do start 3 receivers, right? And Zay Flowers sitting there like a loaf of bread. I think I'll go back to running back later. I could grab Sam Laporta, but I like a lot of the tight ends. Jerry Jeudy's nice. Chris Godwin, again, he just had another ankle surgery. They said it was minor, and it was expected. I like Olave, but how do you pass up on Zay Flowers here with Lamar Jackson in his 3rd season? So I think that's the best pick on the board for me right there. And I get him along with Justin Jefferson. And that's kind of the way I draft. I'm just not a particular strategy. I'm just, maybe in the beginning, I'm kind of, thinking about who I want to start my draft off with, just to start as a base. Maybe that's the one thing I go into drafts doing, but of course that could change on the fly. And I got another pick up here now. Um, mm, I'm kind of a little bit of a conundrum here. Little bit of a conundrum. Sam Laporta, a little bit, right on his ADP. Sammy Laporta. I want Jerry Jeudy with Joe Flacco tossing him the rock. What do I want to do here, guys? You know what? Normally do this, but I'll take Sam Laporta. I'm not going to have a lot of Sam Laporta. I already have a decent amount of Jeudy. I think Juwan Jennings was a good pick there too. I do have a lot of Juwan Jennings already. And obviously his value is moving up. Jacob Cohen just pulled a hammy now. So you got freaking Pearsall with a hammy, Jacob Cohen with a hammy. Ayuk and his troubles. John Lynch talking about he's good for where he's at. Who knows what that means, based on what he talked about McCaffrey last year, saying, yeah, he's fine. So, I don't trust anything John Lynch says anymore. So, they're a mess. They're going to have to pay Jennings. Him and Kittle right now leading that way. Even that rookie, I guess, is kind of a little bit of a leg up now too. Watkins, he could be a late flyer at this point. More so best ball drafts, but going out, Pearsall should be back pretty soon. Actually, Pearsall, I really like Pearsall. The way he finished last year, he runs one of the crispiest out routes, man. So nice. And all that he overcame last year. There were some good picks here on the board. Juwan Jennings was good. I think Laporta was good. It was right about his ADP. Olave was a sound pick. I was thinking about a running back there. Again, I have a lot of Jeudy. The running back that I was thinking about taking probably should fall back to me, even though I have a million shares of him as well. Our boy Al says, sup? Al's always joining us. What's up, Al, man? Hope you're having a great night, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. Shout out to you. Al is always in these drafts, man. He's the best. So we are about 18 minutes in. We are in round 6. And so far, my start, Justin Jefferson, Johnny Taylor, Jimmy Cook, Joshua Allen, Zayamundis Flowers, and Samuel Laporta is the start. And it's not Zayamundis. I just made that up. So I don't think I'm serious there. But there it goes. David Montgomery, Adunze, 2 receivers I don't like, but I could be wrong. I'm not into the Bears, DeAndre Swift. I'm not into, but again, Ben Johnson, maybe he comes to save the day. I still have questions on Caleb. They drafted 2 rookies in the first round, and Burden and Loveland. See how that works out. I think Debo's a nice pick there at the end of the 6th round by Team 12. And Debo, there was some highlights today showing him catching passes in camp. Everybody's saying, Fat Debo's gone now, or where are all the Fat Debo guys now? So, yeah, I think that's been, there was a tape, a clip a couple weeks ago with the route god, Debo running some routes, looking pretty nice. Him and Leggett were working out together. Both went to South Carolina. Debo looking a little bit quicker than Leggett. So he looked just fine. Now he's with, Jaden Daniels, and McLaurin's holding out. So that kind of gives him a little bit of a chance to develop, some chemistry at the moment. Travis Hunter, we'll see with him. I think he's in this type of format when you're playing against 4,000 teams or any type of big format. You take a shot on a guy like Travis Hunter, he could be an absolute lethal weapon for the Jaguars offense. But the question is, how much do they use him on defense? Is it 50%? Is it 40%, 30%, 60, 70%? My initial instincts were when watching Hunter he's a ridiculous athlete. I think he can learn all the nuances of the receiver position. In a year or 2, 3 years, I think he's more developed right now as a corner, and I think the Jaguars may need him more as a corner, and they may be, wanting to leave him on the field as a corner more than a receiver, which obviously hurts his fantasy value. So that's the one thing you say against Hunter. But again, in a format like this, and I wanted to take Tony Pollard. That was my guy. I like to have Tony Pollard on my squad, but I do have 2 running backs, so I should go back to receiver here. And look who's sitting for me right here. Khalil Shakir. Ricky Pearsall is sitting there too. I like Ricky Pearsall, man. You know what? Let's see if I can get him. I'll take Shakir first. Maybe I can get Pearsall on the way back. I should have took Pearsall first, actually. That was stupid on my part. See, I made a mistake there. I should have took Pearsall first because least likely he was going to take Shakir. Although he could have took Shakir and then I would have lost the stack. I like both those picks he made there. Igbuka and Pearsall. A lot of people like Josh Downs. And again, he missed the first 2 games last year, coming back from that high ankle sprain. 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jaden Reed still sitting there. I do like Jaden Reed as well. Schnikes. All right, I take B-Rob. Get a little bit more running back depth there. I like Brian Robinson. Solid player there for Washington and a good offense. Should be the leader in that backfield in the touchdown department. Robinson, he's always kind of a little bit nicked up, but he seems to get on the field and get the job done. The running backs are getting a little bit slim. There's not going to be that many. You got Junkins facing suspension. Najee now with the eye. ETN, we don't know what's going on with him. Mason's going to be a backup role. Stevenson's going to be splitting. At least Robinson's kind of going to be the lead guy with Eckler. More so Robinson in a highly productive offense. So I kind of like getting him. He's just a solid pick to have on your team. The receivers, I have 3 now with Justin Jefferson, Zay, and Khalil. I definitely need to grab a couple more. There's some solid ones. I could probably grab 2 more when we come back. I got my tight end. I got my quarterback. I got 3 running backs, so we can come back and we can grab 2 receivers and get 5 receivers, get our depth there. Jordan Mason, good pick. ETN, good pick. These are all solid picks here. Andrews, I think, is pretty solid if you can get him the 8th round, the guy that used to go 2nd, 3rd round in drafts. And there's a little bit of a running back run here. So I think I was smart to take a running back there. But I think team 1 there, he took 2 guys, Pearsall and Igbuka, both who, with injuries now, with Ayuk and, even Calling out of the way, going to have some more opportunities here. And then Igbuka, obviously, with the Godwin news. And Jalen McMillan, too. People are kind of dismissing him, but he looked good last year. And, I think, honestly, it's very close in talent between him and Dunze. I think Dunze would look better, obviously, if he was with Baker. But McMillan is tough, man. He's good. I mean, whenever he was on the field at Washington, he was producing. I think they're pretty close, and he gets discounted. Especially with the drafting of Igbuka. But now with the Godwin news, he could possibly hit the pup We will see if God, or they're just kind of taking it very, very easy with Godwin, which is possible too, which is smart. He's a veteran. They know he's been there year in, year out. He knows what he needs to do. They know what he needs to do. So, it's possible they're just slowly moving him along. The camp just started. Um, so maybe they bring him along towards the end, but we'll have to monitor that and see. But right now, Buka and Jalen McMillan, stock up for them. There goes Josh Downs. I was contemplating him. I was contemplating Jaden Reed, but I think there's some other receivers that are close there. So I didn't want to force that pick. I feel like Robinson was a solid pick. Again, the depth was getting a little lacking at the running back position. So let's see what I can end up with receiver on the way back. Again, there's a couple guys that I like here. Oh, ran out with the kids real quick and grabbed an ice cream. Hurried back just in time for the show. Couldn't sit in the place. Unfortunately, it was a nice spot, brand new spot. They did a good job. This older couple opened up a ice cream spot just down the road from us. So yeah, couldn't sit in there. Had to do the draft, but got the ice cream in for the kids right before the draft. So took care of them. Now I take care of me, and then that's how you do it. All right, let's see let's see. This is going to be interesting at receiver. There's still a lot of guys that I like, so I think I'll be happy with two of these guys, no matter who I get. Now, again, I do want to, I don't want to just say I'm going to take two receivers no matter what, because there might be a very valuable pick on the board. That I like more, but I don't think I see that right now. Although there is one guy that I'm contemplating taking because I do like him a lot, and he will be gone probably if I don't take him this round. So let's see. Let's see what's available. There goes Najee in the 9th. So, not too much of a dip for Najee there. He really didn't fall that far. Sometimes he falls a little bit further. So it's still, it's a good depth pick at this point. You shouldn't be too scared of the Najee news yet. And honestly, Hampton's getting a lot of love, but I just think Najee's so solid. If he's on the field and he has two eyes, he's got to have two eyes, obviously. That's the big question now. But if he has two eyes, he's going to be a presence. I really think it's going to be like a 50-50. And maybe, now he gets a little bit of a leg up with the news, the iNews, Hampton. But I think it should be a 50-50, maybe at worst a 60-40 in favor of Hampton. But, even before the eye, I thought maybe Najee was going to kind of be the guy in the beginning of the year a little bit. Because sometimes it takes rookies a little while to come along. I mean, Derrick Henry split carries for the first 3 years of his career. Splitting carries with Deion Lewis in the third year of his career. Take this guy a million times. You know what? I'm going to take Cam Scatterbo because I just like him too much. So I know I have 4 running backs, but I'm gonna be good at running back. I'm gonna grab a receiver on my next pick, and he takes the Njoku. That's a good pick there. Let's see who he doubles up here. Ramondre. All right, I'm gonna take my boy Rashid Shaheed. I mean, I love Rashid Shaheed. Talented. I think Tyler Show is has the arm to reach Shaheed and get at the ball deep. He could throw an out route. He's got a good enough arm. I think he's capable enough. I think he will win that job. Jake Hayner stinks. Spencer Rattler stinks. They said today it's going to be a battle between those three, but I do expect Shuck to win the job. He's kind of had a lot of starts in college, so I think he's got enough college experience under his belt, where he could come in and throw to Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave and have Alvin Kamara and look, capable at least. And I don't think the competition behind him is all that good. So I think he will win the job. And I think Shaheed should be pretty solid. Christian Kirk, not a bad pick. Pittman, not a bad pick there. Pittman, 1,000-yard receiver a couple of years ago. Bateman still sitting there, solid. Hollywood Brown, Luther Burden, Marvin Mims, a few other guys there. We'll see. I'll definitely probably would take another receiver on the way back. Possibly. We'll see. Let's see what comes back. Got a little something on my sleeve that we can maybe roll with. Let me scroll this board down. So far now through 10 rounds, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, Jimmy Cook, Josh Allen, Zay Flowers, Sam Laporta, Khalil Shakir, Brian Robinson, Cam Scatterbo, Rashid Shaheed, all guys that I believe in, all guys that I like. Sam Laporta was like the one pick that is a little bit different for me, but round 6, again, remember last year how high he was going, coming off that 10 touchdown year. But again, Laporta was banged up coming into the opening of last year, and he finished strong as well. So that's a nice value for him. Trey Harris is a good pick. I was considering Trey Harris because I don't have a lot of Trey Harris. And, obviously with Justin Herbert, very, very nice quarterback, much better than Tyler Shuck. So, and Trey Harris could win that job over Quentin Johnson. I mean, he could certainly, kind of usurp Quentin Johnson, but especially if Quentin Johnson, who has shown flashes at times, continues to drop the ball, continues to not, track the ball well, things that we've seen from Quentin Johnson through his first couple seasons. Let me see if there's another. There's probably one. Yeah, the receivers are kind of getting hit now. So, I elected to go for a little bit more of running back strength here than wide receiver strength. Just the way it is, but I like it. I mean, I like Shaheed. I'll definitely get a couple more solid guys at the receiver position. There goes Tucker Kraft, solid pick. Trey Benson, I think he's still going to sit behind James Conner. I just think James Conner is just, Frank Goring his ass until, James Conner goes away. We'll probably mix in Benson a little bit more. And Benson should be better in his second year, but I don't know how much he's going to be able to do with James Conner in his way. So, like, he's almost just like a handcuff for James Conner. But, if he ever gets an opportunity, solid player. Tuin, another one. You got Tank Bigsby, you got ETN. How is that backfield going to look? It's probably going to be two guys. And they did draft Tuin. So, they probably want to see what he can do. But ETN, I think, was the more talented back coming out of college. He's had a little bit of a struggles, with the injuries the past couple of years. But certainly has been nice for fantasy just a few years ago. So that'll be interesting backfield to monitor. I'm trying to get a feel for Tuin. I kind of like him, then I don't like him. This week I think I'll have my final opinion on Tuin. I got to go really back. I haven't been able to find anything where I watched all his snaps yet. I've kind of watched like a couple of different games, and I really haven't got a good idea from those games. Like one game he looked good, another game he looked terrible. And there's another game like he had so many wide open holes. You just running through these monster holes. So I don't know. That's why you got to kind of watch all the snaps and get, an overall kind of a good feel. But, in general, everybody's talking about this running back class being so amazing. I don't know. I think it's okay. I don't think it's like anything special. Actually, I like some of the later round picks more than some of the earlier picks. So, that's just the way I feel and I assessed it. But, I didn't really think it was like this unbelievable running back class. Genti obviously is the headliner, so that kind of really bolts it up. But, I'm not like overly impressed with Hampton and Henderson. I think they're good, but I don't think they're like anything like big time, so that's just the way I feel. All right. So we're back to receiver here. A couple guys sitting in my lap here. We talked about a couple of these guys earlier. And I wanted to get Kincaid for the stack. So that did not happen, right? Somebody drafted him. Yeah, teammate. So I missed that. I did get Shakir though. That's good enough. And there's a little bit of a running back run here in round 11. Caleb, Brock, Jared Goff, Fields, and Love. Fields should be going way earlier. He's such a value in these drafts. I mean, it's just ridiculous. He's like the best click. If you can get Fields, I mean, that's another strategy. Just wait for Fields, and you could take another quarterback to pair him up with. Herbert is another great value. I mean, Rashad Bateman, man, he's coming along, man. He's only 25. He had 9 touchdowns last year. He finished the year with 3 straight touchdowns. He's just a solid pick. And I have Zay Flowers. So, if one of the guys gets hurt, I put Rashad Bateman in there or Zay Flowers, and it just helps my lineup. So I like that. And then there's 2 guys that I'm thinking about here. Oh, did Kyle Williams get picked? Oh, Kyle Williams just got picked. There goes Dylan Sampson. I was thinking about taking Kyle Williams. Tight end I'm waiting on. I do have Sam Laporta. Quarterback, I'm good right now. Running backs, I'm solid. I got to build a little bit more receiver depth. Cedric Tillman is not a bad one. Quentin Johnson's not terrible. Wandale, he catches 97 passes for 4 yards. The other guys I could wait on. You know what? I mean, I talked him up earlier. I said he's underrated. He might have more of an opportunity. Why not? Let's go Jalen McMillan in round 12. I don't really have a lot of him either. I've been passing him up because of the Ibuka, but now with this Godwin news, maybe he's maybe he's solid. And you never know. Like, just because Ibuka's the rookie doesn't mean he's just gonna all of a sudden come in, and take away from Jalen McMillan so much when Godwin and Evans are on the field. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Obviously, Ibuka is very, very talented. Plays that slot role very, very sound, kind of like Amon-Ra, the JSN type, Ohio State receiver, high pedigree. But again, I do like Jalen McMillan. I think he's underrated. JJ McCarthy, very, very nice pick there. Week in round 12. I like JJ McCarthy. I thought it was an ACL. I don't know if you guys were listening to basketball, but it was actually a meniscus injury. So that's even better. And he runs, and he's got Justin Jefferson, and I have Justin Jefferson too. So I was actually thinking about taking him later on, but this guy snatched him to get a little bit of the McCarthy Allen. But I have Josh Allen. So it's like, but again, I could have waited, not taken Allen, and taken, George Kittle there. And then, took in Fields and McCarthy. So that's another strategy you can do too. Like, if you don't, it's one thing though, like, we always say every year, there's so much value at quarterback. There's so much value at tight end. It does seem like that. I mean, it seems like we say that a lot, but then we get into the season and a lot of these quarterbacks fade out. A lot of these tight ends fade out and the cream rises to the top. There's like a few select guys that are good. So it always seems like everybody's good every year, but that's why, it's nice to pay the premium, just like we pay the premium for these guys in the first round. It's nice to pay the premium for quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, because they've done it year in, year out, and they're going to give you 25, 30. They're going to get those 40-point games. They're going to get those monster, 5, 6 touchdown games. Allen's going to go off. Lamar's going to go off. And, you're not really going to get that as much from the McCarthys and the Fields, although they can have big games, but they also will have those inconsistent games too, where they're scoring, 13 points, 15 points. So, just to get that consistent score and get those explosion games from the guys like Lamar and Allen, even Jaden Daniels. Yes, like we all expect him to have a great year. It's still only his second year. So you never know. There could be adjustments. He could get hurt. We don't know what his true durability is yet. So that's why, you go with the solidified guys like Allen, like Jackson, who just kill it every single year. Hurts as well, is pretty dang solid in fantasy. And he's a nice value in round 5. So that's why I don't mind paying the premium. And again, Josh Allen in round 4, a couple of years ago, it was like round 2. I think last year was more like round 3. So a little bit of a discount this year. Lamar was into round 3. So yeah, there you go. Then, instead of waiting on guys like Murray and, Prescott, like that could blow up in your face. You never know. It just could blow up in your face. But that's why, like, if you take one of these guys, you want to take 2, every once in a while, maybe 3. I did that in my last draft. I think I took Fields, McCarthy, and Justin Herbert. Herbert was sitting there in the second to last round. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he's a great value. I think he's going to run the ball more this year. They get Trey Harris. Another year with McConkey now. Aronde Gatson could be a thing. Better offensive line. They got Hampton now, Najee. So yeah, I mean, second year in the system. Herbert, man, if he starts running the ball more, and I think he would have ran the ball more last year, had the plantar fasciitis, had the high ankle sprain, with Greg Roman, obviously, who likes to run the ball with had running quarterbacks in the past with Lamar. I think he's he could run for 400 yards. He could have 4 or 5 touchdowns. So that just gives you the extra bonus, and he could have a really nice throwing year too. There goes Justin Herbert in round 13. Again, I got him in round 18 the other night. So he really fell. All right. So let's go back. My team. I'm waiting on tight end still. I probably will start now looking to build back my running backs a little bit more. We'll see what kind of depth I could build here. There's one guy actually that I'm going to draft that I don't usually draft. I may take him here if I should be able to get him. I'm not really used to where he's going, but it seems like I got some time. There's a couple more receivers that I like here as well. That I will continue to draft until I feel like there's better options at that point. But based off everything that I've assessed and everything that I know about a lot of these guys, not much is going to change. I was really high on Xavier Legette initially last year. Then I watched him again. I kind of fell off him a little bit. I had a ton of them in my early best ball drafts. He's got great size. He's got pretty good speed. Needs to work on his route running a little bit. His 50-50 is not great. And it was his rookie year, but I think he's working harder to get better this year. He's interesting. He's a guy I kind of want to take a chance on, but I don't know. I don't know. They got Ted, they got Thielen there, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. Quentin Johnson too. Like, he's not a bad guy to take a. Everybody hates his ass, but first round pick, 8 touchdowns last year. A lot of it was like blown plays, though. I mean, honestly, it was. He just got picked anyway, so that made my decision easy. I keep taking this guy, man. Like, I don't know why I can't stop drafting him. It's based off the talent. Let me just look at the tight ends and the running backs real quick. I don't want these running backs, man. Right now, there's some guys but some of these guys are going to start getting plucked out of the woods. It says the ADP, but they start getting plucked out of the woods. You know what? Shit. All right. Took Nick Chubb. I didn't really want to take him there, but It was me. He was one of my guys I was thinking about. And again, Mixon's banged up right now. So see that this is what I'm saying. Bashard Smith, there he goes. So that's what I'm saying. If you wanted some of these receivers and these running backs, you got to start plucking them out of the sky now. You can't just look at the ADPs. I probably should grab one of them now. Shit. All right, I'm gonna take this guy based on. I really like him, and I need a receiver. I really like Jack Betch. I know that the reports haven't been great on him. Dante Thornton supposedly and Trey Tucker because they operate in this. They're going to beat him on the outside. He's got to be better on the outside. I don't know. I'm not really buying into any of that. I just watching this kid. I mean, he plays with such a ferocious nature. Great at coming down with the ball. Just looks like an absolute gamer. Kind of reminds me of like another Cooper Cup type. And I really like the Raiders offense. I feel like the Raiders offense is going to be very, very solid. With Geno, with Pete Carroll, with Genty, with Bowers, with Jacoby Myers, with Betch, who I think is going to be an upgrade. Trey Tucker didn't do anything last year. I think Betch is definitely better than Thornton, 100%. Thornton played in that weird offense in Tennessee, and I don't know. I'll watch him again, but then my initial reaction to him wasn't great. And when I watched Betch initially, he just stood out to me right away. So if I watch a guy the first time and he sticks out with me, that sticks with me. If it takes me like 2, 3, 4 times to get a feel for a guy, it usually is a sign that I don't really like him that much, and I'm kind of trying to find things that I like, but I can't really find it. Sometimes it switches up though. Like I remember I watched Bucky Irving initially last year, and I liked him, but I didn't think I was like, oh, all right, so is he that much better than Rashad Smith? Then I watched him again, and I saw it, the second time. So that happens. You could be tired, kids could be distracting you. Something can happen. At work. So that's why I try to, if I get into the rhythm of it, if I have the time, I watch a guy second time, third time. And again, when I'm saying watch them, I'm trying to watch. There's videos out there where you can watch all their targets, all their snaps. They're like 20 minutes long. I think though Marion Hampton, I watched like 3 times already. It's like 45 minutes long. So I already watched that 3 times. Uh, but if I could catch it in the first time, if he sticks out, it's usually a good sign. So there's a couple more guys that I like, and I continue to draft. And again, I want to mix this up. I want to start mixing these drafts up. But right now, it's still early. We haven't even hit August. So I'm fine with, I'm still mixing it up, but I'm still drafting a lot of the same guys at the same time. But I think, as we get into August, some new guys will start to come in the mix, and I'll get a better feel for some of these guys. And, I'll start switching up my quarterbacks again. I got to get Lamar, and I don't really like to draft too many quarterbacks. Like I like to get like maybe 3, 4 guys. Like I don't really like to have like 7, 8 guys in my quarterback. I like that just a lot of Allen, a lot of Lamar. I will probably have a decent amount of Daniels, a lot of Fields, probably a decent amount of Herbert, McCarthy. So, it's like if it's Allen, Lamar, Daniels, then I'm secure with those guys. Then if I drop down to Fields, I do like a Fields Herbert or a Fields McCarthy or Herbert McCarthy, something like that. But I won't be like drafting all these guys like unless I have to. Maybe I'll have a share of Baker or 2 and a little bit of Cam Ward, Bryce Young. But most of my portfolios will have a lot of Allen and Lamar. The top guys, and then again the other guys I mentioned. If I want to wait, Fields, Herbert, McCarthy. Penix is another guy I like too as a second quarterback. Bryce Young, I wish I could get more on him because I liked him so much as a rookie. And I never gave up on him. But I don't know if he's just going to ever have a monster fantasy season. He's kind of just like a backup plan if you need him. Same with Cam Ward. Like, I don't know if I see him having a monster fantasy season. Well, he could have like a CJ Stroud type year. 2 I want no part of. Stafford, I know he's got Devontae and Puka. In best ball, I'm more akin to drafting him than in season long. I just feel like he could get hurt. I don't really want to start. He'll have like a lot of 1, 2 touchdown games, like 200. Kyron Williams is going to finish off a lot of games. So he's not. He doesn't run at all. I like to get guys that run. Bryce Young's running a little bit more. Um, ran for 6 touchdowns last year. Only threw 15 though. But you could see a world where Bryce Young throws for 3K, throws for 20, maybe runs for 6 again, maybe runs for 400 yards. So it's not a bad pick. There's another receiver that I like a lot. I'm wondering if I could wait on. Yeah, I could probably wait on him. He may get snatched out of the sky, but I want to make sure I get two of these guys here, or at least one of these guys. One of them I for sure want to get. Oh, and he just went. DJ Giddens. I wanted to take him with Jonathan Taylor, and I haven't had a share of him. But again, I probably should have took him last round instead of Chubb. I should have took DJ Giddens. Again, it was just a good handcuff. Again, Giddens could be a guy that just sits on my bench and does nothing all year too. So maybe I cut him by week 5, week 6. Where Chubb, maybe Mixon gets hurt. Maybe Mixon struggles with injury. Now I got Nick Chubb revived. This guy was an absolute beast, one of the best running backs 2 years ago. Everybody's giving up on him just like they gave up on J.K. Dobbins. So it was just the way I wanted to do the draft, but it didn't fall that way. But there's one more guy, if he doesn't go, that I'm going to take. But we got a good drafter ahead of me, so we'll see if he takes him. But he doesn't. He takes Josh Palmer, probably thinking that I'm going to take him for the stack, but I don't think Josh Palmer is going to do much there. Maybe 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Josh Palmer had plenty of opportunities in LA to produce, and he didn't do anything really. So I'm going to take Jarquez Hunter, guy I really, really freaking like a lot. Kyron Williams is ahead of him. He's still got Blake Corum, who's, high pedigree out of Michigan. But again, I watched him first time, stood out right away. He reminds me of a Kyron. He reminds me of a J.K. Dobbins type. He reminds me of a back that McVay is going to want to use. I think he's very, very talented. So I like landing Jarquez Hunter there. All right. So I think I'm good at running back. At this point, probably want to start looking at the quarterbacks. They're kind of flying down the board. Only Tua, Cam, Darnold, Geno, Anthony Richardson. The receivers, and yes, I'm going to take Pat Bryant. I love Pat Bryant. My boy Ernie put me onto him. Well, he talked about him first, and he says, well, he loves most of the rookies. I don't know if you ever met a rookie he didn't like, but he really, really talked up Pat Bryant. He loves Jarquez. He loves, he talked up Jarquez too. But and then I finally got a chance to look at Pat Bryant, and I was like, wow, this guy's different. He stands out. And immediately he stood out to me on tape. I think he's one of the better receivers in this class. So you get him in round 16. Roman Wilson, man, in round 16, props to you, Team 4. I love that pick because Roman Wilson's a guy that gets forgotten about, man. And he's talented. He's talented. He's a guy that you could sneak in usually, especially in basketball drafts later on. But back to Pat Bryant. Just stands out. Big physical receiver, ferocious attitude, good after the catch, good hands, good strong hands. Sutton's getting a little bit older, Marvin Mims is undersized, 5'9". I don't know. He's not like a true number one. Pat Bryant, I feel like, is a guy that can almost dominate the football. Ingram's getting older. So again, I'm making him case more for dynasty than redraft this year. But, towards the end of the year, I think if you're patient with Pat Bryant and you hold him on your bench in a redraft league, I like, I feel like, Nick's was very, very capable as a passer in year one. He really, really dedicated himself to Peyton's system. And I think we'll see a continuation of that in year 2. Now could see some struggles from him in year 2. We'll see. It's possible, but they increased the weapons. Pat Bryant's a great pick. Peyton's been talking him up. Similar to Michael Thomas. He reminds him of Michael Thomas. I think Peyton's getting a little giddy about Pat Bryant. We'll see how he does in camp. Then they got Ingram. So it should be very, very nice. Of course, they bring in RJ Harvey as well. Should be a nice year for the Broncos on offense and defense. They drafted that corner from Texas who looks ridiculous as well. So you got him and Surtain now. That's a nasty combo right there. These corners, man, watching him and Hunter, I was just like, wow, these guys' instincts are ridiculous. And their speed, their makeup speed is just crazy. And the way they follow these routes, nuts. Very, very talented. All right. So let's see what we got here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 backs. Still one quarterback. Still one tight end. So at this point in the draft, with only 2 reserve spots. And again, normally I don't take 2 quarterbacks. But I look at the board. And, when guys start flying off the board, you still want to have a capable backup just in case. I mean, you got Josh Allen, you plan to start him every week, but in case there's an injury, you don't want to get and you have a solid team. You don't want to get stuck with some guy that you're not happy with. I mean, you could figure it out and play matchups. But, I mean, Cam Ward, I kind of like, I want to go for Geno again. I said I liked. I definitely need to get a backup tight end though. So I'll do that here. And I kind of know who I'm going to take. Could go defense at this point too, but you're starting to see the defenses go. I usually just wait to the last 2 rounds for my defense. This draft went pretty fast. Where are we? Almost an hour. So thanks for joining us again tonight, guys. Make sure you are liking, subscribing to the show. Appreciate it. We'll be back for a lot more of these all the way up until week 1 of the NFL season. I'm going to try to start doing some team previews if I can, maybe some betting previews, some more best ball drafts, some more high stakes drafts. We'll see what we can get into and see how much we could squeeze in before the season starts. Man. The question is, what do I want to do with my last 2 picks? Well, for one, I'm going to take a tight end because I feel like I need a backup. There's a lot of Pat Fryermuth is still there. My God. I feel like I should take him. He's just being totally discounted with the Jonnu stuff now. But I do have a lot of Fryermuth. I'll take Chig. I feel like Chig could have a breakout with Cam Ward. Now the question is do I go quarterback here or do I go running back? Because there's one more running back I got my eye on. The guy that's being discounted a lot. And Geno, solid pick, I think, at quarterback. Solid backup. I mean, you got like 5 starters here right now. I mean, a couple of these guys will get picked for sure. What do I want to do? I think the last draft, one of the drafts I had Allen, I didn't back him up. What's his bye? Week 7? Receivers I'm good with. I drafted enough of them. There's one more tight end I like, but I can get him on Fab. I might have to spend a pretty penny for him, but you know what? Let's do this. I'll take Anthony Richardson, and I'm playing defense. So if he wins the job, obviously he would. If Anthony Richardson wins the job, you're probably going to be seeing him being drafted in like um I would say like round 12 probably, or McCarthy's going, or maybe like round 13. So, he could becomes a little bit more of an asset then. And maybe even higher because of his potential. But I would say at least round 13, maybe the lowest round 14. But I'll take him, and if he loses the job, I'll just cut him and I'll pick up one of these other guys. Now I was considering Cam Ward there. I was considering maybe Geno, and again, I have Josh Allen, so did I really need two quarterbacks? Not really. I could have just added another depth piece. So the other two guys I could have added, or three guys, I could have thought about Fryermuth for a third tight end. There's some receivers there I could have taken: Pierce, Michael Wilson, Aya Manor, Jalen Royals, not a bad one. Restrepo, I think, is a little bit of a sleeper. Whittington could be a sleeper. Um, and then at running back, Kendrick Miller. I mean, you know, again, Dennis Allen had him in the basement. Dennis Allen got fired, and all of a sudden, Kendrick Miller comes back. He starts producing again, and Kamara could be a trade target. Their team's going to stink. So what are they going to? What are they going to do? They're going to keep Kamara again. He's getting up there in age. He could get shipped off to a contender, and then all of a sudden, Kendrick Miller is getting a million touches. So I feel like he's a good late pick. Honestly, now obviously I've thought about this before. I probably should have taken Kendrick Miller, but again, I felt like maybe initially Anthony Richardson has more value, just to kind of steal him from my opponents. Because if Anthony Richardson starts, he should be good for fantasy. He's going to get a lot of rushing yards, a lot of rushing touchdowns. So, but it could be a total of a waste pick. But again, I'll just cut him, and maybe I can get Kendrick Miller before the season starts. That's probably what I'll do if he doesn't get the job. But he could get drafted here. I mean, he's second on he should get drafted here. He doesn't really get drafted in best ball, I noticed, in the 18 rounds in underdog. But in this format, he should get snatched up. Fryermuth, nobody wants him, which is crazy. And then you got Harold Fannin, who doesn't really even get drafted, but they're talking about him possibly playing in the slot. A lot of 12 personnel for the Browns. Harold Fannin, another guy at a Bowling Green, mid-major college, but, the MAC. But he played 2 games against big schools, and he showed out. I mean, you watch Harold Fannin Jr., and instantly he's like, oh, wow. And if he doesn't have to play, he doesn't have to block a lot, and he can just be running routes, that kind of fits his mold. So, man, he's good. Harold Fannin's freaking really, really talented. He wows you when you put on the tape. So I feel like he's a sneaky late pick, and like he's a guy like if you want to snatch him up in some of your drafts, if you're doing these deep drafts like this, or in best ball, you kind of differentiate your team a little bit, because I feel like at some point this year, Harold Fannin might be a pretty big fab guy. All right, so that pretty much does it through 18 rounds. Again, I got to take a kicker and a defense. Let's look at some of these builds. Nobody really started heavy receiver other than Team 6 with very, very, dude, I like this start actually. CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, JSN, Kenneth Walker, JMO, Chris Olave. A lot of firepower there for sure. A lot of firepower. Pacheco should have a nice bounce back. Charbonnet, Jalen Warren, Tyler Warren, Brock Purdy is his quarterback. Only got one quarterback. Oh no, he took Drake May too. So yeah, that's a good strategy. You wait, you get Drake May and Brock Purdy. Tillman was another nice pick. I feel like this guy had a pretty nice draft. He also took DJ Giddens from me, who I wanted to back up Jonathan Taylor with. I kind of like DJ Giddens a little bit. I didn't really like him initially. Now I like him a little bit more. Team 11, solid as well. Brian Thomas, Drake London, Chase Brown, Ridley Pickens, Swift, Addison suspension, Ingram, Dak, Spears, Benson, Ray, Kyler. Yeah, pretty solid. Team 12 starts with McCaffrey and Achane. That could be lethal with McBride and Daniels and Reishi, Debo, Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden. Wow, I like this guy's draft. Brandon Ayuk, again, we don't know when he's coming back. Jaden Higgins, I like. Tune could be very nice. Pitts could have a bounce back. Yeah, I like this guy's draft. He has a pretty nice team. Man, those first, there's just so much upside with all these picks. It's just, this is the type of team you want in this tournament with all this upside. It's just oozing of upside, Team 12. McCaffrey, Achane, McBride, Daniels, Rice, Debo, Hunter, Golden, Ayuk hitting. That's an oozer. That's an oozing upside team. You want the upside to just ooze out. I'm coming up for a defense here. Always take the defense for the kicker. Is my motto. But I'm a streamer. I'm a defensive streamer. So, I was taking like Arizona defense week 1. There's a nice little defense here that we're going to take if they're available. It's going to be my boys. Justin Fields, baby. We're going to take the Jets D, and they do play Pittsburgh week 1, so they'll be going against Aaron Rodgers, so I don't mind it. A little bit of a revenge game there for both. Cardinals, I think, are playing the Saints week 1. That's why I kind of like the Cardinals as a week 1 pick. And then we'll do a kicker, and then we'll recap the rest of this draft, and we'll get out of here. If you guys want to drop any comments in the chat after the draft, put it in there. Let me know about my team, what you think. Who do you like the best out of all these teams? Who do you like the worst? I'll also put it on my Twitter as well. Again, like, subscribe, share it to the show. Follow me on X at Fantasy Savvy. And again, we'll be back for many, many more of these. So tonight I picked from the 2-hole. I think I want to start getting into the middle of the draft, towards the end of the draft. The other night I had the 8 pick, 8th, and I had CeeDee Lamb, which is pretty good value, I think, there. I'm up. Kicker. Let's take the Bucs kicker. Martin Gramatica. He's still kicking for them. I don't know. No, I forget who their kicker is, but he's pretty good. Got to step up my kicker knowledge. But it's a good offense, good weather. Maybe not in the beginning. Might have some little bit of hurricane winds, but obviously won't be playing in that. But yeah, Tampa, good weather all year round. The NFC South, domes. So that's what I like to do. I like to take kickers who play in good weather for the most part, or domes, or like are in a division where you get a lot of good weather. In the NFC South, you're going to get mostly good weather between Atlanta, Saints, got 2 domes there, Tampa, and then Carolina. So, all right. Team 10, again, oozing with upside. Any other teams that stick out here? Team 1, he gets the Chase Higgins Burrow stack. And again, in a tournament like this, when you're playing for total points, when you get into the championship round. So if you guys don't know, you got to finish top 2 to cash in this league. Pretty much. There's a way where, and then, yes, you got to finish top 2, either best record or most points. And then if you win best record and most points, I think you take everything, actually. Take both prizes. I still think second gets a prize. But anyway, you qualify also for the championship round. And there's another way you could qualify, like if you're top 15% total score, you can qualify for the championship round. But either way, you got to pretty much finish top 2. And then you cash, you get into the championship round. So it's weeks 1 through 14. You play, you play in your league, and then they take your average from weeks 1 through 14. So it's like 140 points, 160 points. You start with that as a baseline, and then it's cumulative through weeks 15, 16, 17. So it's like a shootout. So to get the Chase Higgins Burrow combo, very solid. Again, I thought he made some good picks. Pearsall, Kyle Williams was a good pick. Dylan Sampson's looking like a better pick. There goes Kendry Miller. Brashard Smith was a nice pick. I always like taking Brashard Smith. He's another guy that stands out to me as a rookie. Mason Taylor. So I think, most of these guys are pretty sharp drafters. Again, this will be on XM Radio, the recap. Jeff Erickson and Tom Kessenich from NFFC will be breaking down this draft. They'll be doing that every Wednesday, so check that out if you want to hear a recap of this draft from their perspective. Any other teams here? Bijan, Bucky, Mike Evans, Kittle, Connor, Jennings, Diggs. Okay. Gibbs, Kyron, Marv, Terry, Waddle, Pollard, Junkins, Fields, Mahomes. I think I like Team 12 the best so far. Team 6, I kind of liked his start. Team 10, Puka, Bowers, Lamar, Chuba, Sutton, Montgomery, Myers, Downs, Mooney, Kraft, pretty good. Team 11, we did that. Team 5, Saquon, Ladd, Devontae, Kamara, Andrews, not bad. And that's it. So my team to wrap this baby up. And we will go with my starting lineup will be Josh Allen, running backs, Johnny Taylor, James Cook, starting receivers, Justin Jefferson, Zay Flowers, Khalil Shakir, or Rashid Shaheed, or Bateman, I guess I could put in there. But you start through receivers. So my third receiver isn't the most solid. And then I get a flex. So that could either be Brian Robinson, that could be Scatabo, that could be Shaheed, it could be Shakir, it could be Bateman, could be Nick Chubb. We'll see. Tight end, Sam Laporta. And then my backups here, Jack Betch, Jarquez Hunter, Pat Bryant, Chake Okonkwo, Anthony Richardson. My starting defense, Jets, week 1 against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, and then Tampa Bay in that nice NFC South weather and in the domes. So it wraps that baby up. I think, again, a lot of my teams, I like to get a nice balance. I like to get good depth, strong depth at the running back position. I don't like to chase a lot of backups and kind of guess and try to hit on these guys. And, so I feel like I got a pretty strong core of running backs. My first 3 are solid. Scatabo, I feel like he's going to earn a role. Again, he's a rookie. He's, he could be a backup, but Tyrone Tracy's not a guy like he's not going to be able to not beat out. Tracy had some fumbling problems on the stretch. Scatabo, underrated receiver. Go back and watch that Texas game. He ran that route like a receiver, little inside jab, outside, caught it. Guy almost ripped off his helmet. Gets right up. Nick Chubb could be nice. Jarquez, I love his talent. So I kind of like my running back room. My receiver room, I feel like, my first 2 guys, very solid. Shakir is going to be a little bit sporadic. Shaheed, I love his talent. Quarterback situation is a little flaky, but he's a burner, and he could run underneath routes as well. Bateman, very solid. Again, 9 touchdowns last year. Jalen McMillan, underrated. Betch, I love as a rookie. Pat Bryant, I love as a rookie. And then I get Laporta with a nice value in round 6. And Chig Okonkwo, I think, could have a breakout year. And then Anthony Richardson, again, if he doesn't win the starting job, I will cut him. And, I'll pick up somebody, probably Harold Fannin. I'll drop a big load of fab on Harold Fannin or something, or whatever I feel like, I probably won't have to drop that much unless the reports are, he's killing it at camp, and, we'll see what happens. But my team is spearheaded by the best fantasy quarterback in football, or, one of him and Lamar. Lamar was better than him last year. They're going to swap. But Allen, I think, is the best quarterback in football. And I think he's the best fantasy quarterback in football as well. So spearheaded by that, and a good balance underneath. Got a little bit of a Bills stack. I don't want to get too many of those. Sometimes I get a little bit Allen happy. So I got to mix it up. Get a little bit more Fields, Herbert, a little bit more. I guess I got to start getting my Lamars and my Daniels, and even a little bit more Hurts. Hurts is a nice value in round 5. All right, guys, that's going to be it Again, make sure you are liking, subscribing to the show. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Please follow the show. We'll have a ton more drafts. We'll have best ball drafts, high stake drafts. We're going to start doing some team previews, some betting previews as well. And, as we get closer to, the season's over, we'll have some college basketball stuff, some NBA stuff as well. So make sure you guys are subscribing. That's going to be it for me tonight. We'll be back soon. Thanks. Take care, everybody.